since we have probably a more lengthy discussion on the fish and game, we have some planning and zoning findings. Sure. It should take about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be quick.
This is on the application for amendment of the comprehensive plan from commercial to mixed use on property owned by Dan Siegel, located north of 49th North, east of Ammon Road, south of Ririe Highway, Bonneville County. Planning and zoning staff, Austin, has put together some proposed findings. And we'll ask you to go through those and then take any discussion if they're different than the input you gave Austin. And then we'll make any changes if necessary. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of briefly go through those. So this matter comes before the Bonneville County Commissioners. It's a request to amend the comprehensive plan on a tract of land from commercial to mixed use. The request was made by Jura Holdings LLC on behalf of Dan Siegel on property located north of 49th North, east of Ammon Road, and south of Ririe Highway. The Planning and Zoning Board heard this matter on August 25th, 2021, and recommended approval of the comprehensive plan change request unanimously. And the Commissioners' hearing staff stated there was one opposition, but upon review of the minutes, this was found to be incorrect. The County Commissioners heard this matter on November 10th, 2021. After having reviewed the testimony, the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, the reference information submitted, the Commissioners make the following findings. The property has been shown as C2 general commercial on the county zoning map. Parcels are about 14 acres total in size, but only the southeasterly 25 or 251.8.
Where are you, by the way? For
Oh.
summarizing faster to keep up.
On 2. So only the southeasterly 251.08 feet, which is 7.001 acres of the 14 acres is being requested to be changed to mixed use. The parcels are currently platted as part of the Beaches Corner Commercial Park subdivision. And then going to 6, the parcels have been designated for commercial use on the comprehensive plan for the last 20 years. Going to 9, the Egan's Nursery, located southeast, has been developed as a commercial property for more than 20 years. And then skipping down to 14, if approved, the developer would be required to connect to the existing Falls Water community water system and existing Iona Bonneville sewer district. So then going into conclusions, the purpose of the county comprehensive plan is to provide a long-range growth plan that is intended to identify and direct future growth in an orderly, convenient, logical, and systematic pattern. The land use compatibility planning goal specifically states that we are to ensure that neighboring land uses are reasonably compatible. We must arrange the uses related to each other and to their natural setting. Point A, the purpose of the mixed use designation areas in the comprehensive plan is to allow for the integration of compatible uses within a neighborhood fabric. The areas should allow for shopping and employment centers to be located within easy access to residential areas. It is the opinion of the board that the application meets the above stated goal by allowing for an integration of compatible uses while still upholding the commercial nature of the area along Ririe Highway and continuing east. Point B, the comprehensive plan states to establish where necessary or desirable a separation or buffer between conflicting or incompatible land uses. It also states care should be given to assure that appropriate buffering is provided between heavier commercial and light manufacturing uses and the residential areas. It is the opinion of the board that allowing a mixed use designation southwest of Thorn Road will lessen the likelihood of heavy commercial uses on the existing commercial lots along the highway, thus providing for a better buffer against the existing improved residential. C, it is also the opinion of the board that leaving the area southeast of Thorn Road as commercial land use meets the goal of neighboring land uses being reasonably compatible, as the property southeast has been developed as commercial property for more than 20 years. D, the comprehensive plan states that we are to locate commercial uses in areas that are already commercial in nature and can meet the needs of the public by being located near the intersection of transportation corridors. Given that this parcel is located on Ririe Highway near the intersection of Ammon Road and US Highway 26, and is also accessible from the major arterial 49th North, It is the board's opinion that leaving the northwestern 248.92 feet of the parcels as commercial land use southwest of Thorn Road and leaving 500 feet as commercial land use southeast of Thorn Road in this area is strategic because it is located on the Ririe Highway and still surrounded by commercial land use on 3 sides, thus being able to meet the needs of the residential growth in the area. E and F just kind of go over normal conditions that we put on every change. And then going to point H, the board has the obligation to review all the facts and use their discretion in considering the evidence presented in a land use change request. It is the board's opinion that the Planning and Zoning Commission erred in its recommendation to approve the land use change without condition. The board believes allowing mixed use to be granted southeast of Thorn Road is not compatible with the existing established commercial use to the east. It is the board's opinion that residential growth to the east is premature. So then the decision based upon the above facts, it is the decision of the Bonneville County Commissioners that the request for amendment of the southeasterly 251.08 feet that lies southwest of the existing platted Thorn Road from commercial to mixed use be approved with the condition that all 500 feet southeast of Thorn Road will remain commercial land use. Any questions?
The Thorn Road, I'm trying to remember from memory, what they're planning on is backing the residential up, so it's a buffer and then allowing commercial use on the highway.
Correct.
So that you don't have the heavy commercial, and that's the intent of this whole thing. So I don't have any suggested changes.
I don't either, and I think it's consistent with what we have done out there. There's been a lot of interest in that area, but I think that this stays consistent with our objectives out there. So
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the nice middle ground that we should be reaching for.
I make a motion that we approve the findings of facts as written.
Second that motion.
Motion a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll sign this, and so is that what you're here for? We'll get you a copy of the sign.
Yeah, I'll send over a copy. I'll send you a copy as well, Ken, after it's signed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Do you have any questions? Okay, call me if you need anything. So.
Okay. That took exactly 5 minutes.
Just tried to make it quick.
Okay. We're going to discuss the possibility of keeping that extra couple miles open. Finishing up Ririe. Is that what first on here?
Yes, I understand. And may I say, Mr. Chair, we've got one person online. I actually reached out to him for information because I knew he fished that area a lot in the winter, was very familiar with the road. Mike Kohler is his name. Mike, can you hear us all right?
Yep.
All right, thanks for being here. We appreciate any input.
So I think when we left it last time, everybody's going to take a look at what it would take to keep it open, a parking possibility, then get together to discuss it further. So where are we?
Let me just say, I guess I'll go ahead and weigh in. I did drive up there last week. And it was after that one storm last week. You were plowing to 115 to where you normally plow to. I went ahead and drove on past that. I was in a county car and I stopped because it was drifting past. I could have got through with my pickup, but there are areas of that road just shortly past where you stop plowing that is kind of a bad spot right there. So I became concerned then that I could see how difficult it would be, and I kind of defer to YouTube. They're doing the work, whether we have time to do this or not.
Well, I'd ask, one of the things we talked about was because of the shortage of time and equipment available. Was a contractor doing it? Was that?
I know that we discussed that last time, whether it could be contracted out by the fishing game to do it. We also talked about the possibility of talking
Sometimes you don't eat breakfast together, huh?
around on the south. If you were able to talk with people that were not the Talbots,
Parking place?
Yeah.
Parking space, you mean?
you know,
Yeah, that's not gonna be an option for us. Yeah, it's.
Who is the other besides Talbot's?
It is,
Swinlands.
restaurant. Yeah.
I was wondering if it was Jensen's. So he might, well, I don't know where he'd be on it.
From Road and Bridge, and I'll let Ken Ray weigh in too. I worry very strongly about having it open and having an expectation that will be open after every storm. I don't think we struggle with Blacktail up to 115th and 115th up to Foster's driveway now, getting it after every storm. And if there's an expectation that it's open, it'll have to be hit much more often than we currently plow it. And it'll take much more time than we currently allow to do it. So I don't think equipment wise, manpower wise, and time wise, Road and Bridge can accomplish what's being asked without, I don't know what other, I mean, we had another piece of equipment and another manpower or person that was dedicated only to this, maybe. But I don't have.
Let me ask you a question on that. You said there would, you would have to plow it more often than it's currently being plowed. I
Yeah,
mean, there's already an expectation to keep that open to 115, correct?
We
Yes.
keep 115th open to the windmills. And then from the windmill office up to Foster's cellar, we keep track of our time and then we charge them through the winter to plow up to there. The windmill people, they park and they know that they're not going to get in all the time.
Okay,
And they understand, there's a reason they put the windmills up there. So we fight Blacktail Road, once you come around these little curves right here from them curves to 115th, we have the rotary up there constantly, trying to even keep this open. And they will bring their snowcat and they will park it clear back down here on one of their windmill approaches, knowing that they may not get in or out. And then they'll just drive up to here and then they'll snowcat into their offices. They also realize that we may be able to open this road and during a windstorm, it could be closed in a matter of an hour. With the high banks that are associated with this stretches in here, we can't guarantee we can keep it open. Last year, we had a situation where somebody drove past our road closed sign trying to get to Blacktail. They spent the night. He was diabetic. Backwoods called us and said, can you please come and open this up so we can rescue this guy that was there all night. And that's another concern, is getting everybody back in here and then having that road blow right back in. Then we're back in on a rescue mission also. It's a road that's not a high priority. We do Blacktail back to the windmills at the very tail end of our snowplow route. So it's not a priority road.
Concern me more is I hadn't thought about that before. It blows up there.
Yeah.
You can be up there fishing down at the bottom, may not seem as windy. Trying to get out of there.
and you won't be able to get out.
but you're gonna have the same thing where they're parking now. I mean,
It
where
is the
are they
same
gonna
thing.
park then? Because there's gonna continue to be people fish that, and so it causes you a problem with the road being blocked, right?
It does
It does.
cause us a problem.
So I guess I was just hoping that plowing it would be a compromise to solve some of your problems, but it does add problems to you. I get that.
Can we maybe get the opinion of somebody who has an outside opinion?
It's been fishing it.
Mike, I know you fish that a lot. What's your thoughts? You and I have had some discussion on it.
Yeah, I would go with the guy that was just talking about getting somebody stranded in there. And the only thing I got written down on my notes is priority. Where's the priority? Do you have a priority to be up there? Which he just answered that question for me. My idea would be come back to where we have been parking, reach out to the landowners with a full plan, and then go at it. Just like I got friends that lease their land to farmers to farm for the year. What if we reached out to either Swendermans or the Johnsons and offered to lease a couple acres of land? And then that would be the only place they'd have to plow out, right at the end of the road. And if the road is closed, if you guys don't get up there and get it open, because there was a couple days last year where you did not get it open to the T by the time we got up there, we just turned around and went home for the day. The wind was blowing so bad, you didn't want to fish anyhow. But if you did try to keep that access to the road, what is that, 113?
115.
115. And then if we approach the landowners with a full plan, I heard the complaints were litter. There was a 4-wheeler left in a field. There were 2 snow machines left in a field, people cutting the road. If we approach the landowner, either Johnson's or Swenderman, of leasing the ground to us, and here's our plan. We're going to put an outhouse where we plowed out. We're going to put garbage cans where we put out. We're going to put up signs that reminds everybody we're on public property. Just like if you're going through Antelope Creek, if you go through a bunch of property to get to Antelope Creek and it's public access, but nothing else is open. You can't stop and hunt anywhere along that road. And it's very well known, do not stop and hunt along the road. And if we did something like that with the landowner to let them know we're going to enforce that, have a fish and game officer up there the first couple of days it's open, the first week it's open, and anybody who cuts the field, just write them a ticket. It's only going to take a few tickets and it'll get around the guys that fish it, that, you know what, stay on the road because that $100 ticket or whatever. But I think for it to work with the landowner, you would have to approach him with a full plan and a full idea of what you were going to give him. What do you think of that, Brett?
I think that's a great idea if the landowner would be willing to cooperate with us, because that would, I think, address all the concerns, and we'd certainly be willing to provide some added presence up there for enforcement. And it just makes the most sense logically from what the actions that are occurring right now and how much plowing and effort is being placed. I would just hate to see access go away. I think that would be a hit.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, I know you.
I think if we just reached out to them on with a full plan, and then with the idea, just like last year when they didn't get it plowed out, nobody was in there fishing. We were the first ones up at the top of the road and nobody had gone in, and plus it was just too crappy to fish. And on the days that they can't get up there and get plowed to the parking area, it's probably too crappy to fish anyhow, and not a whole lot of people are going to go in there.
One recommendation I would make, path that is chosen to go forward with, we saw this last year when we have periods where we don't have much snow. There is that spot just past the closure that always does collect snow, but people think they can push through and drive, and they were driving around the signs and get stuck driving through the field because there's less snow on the field than there was on the road. I would recommend we put some type of more workable barrier. then the sign, put a gate across the road or something to keep down that bad behavior.
Yeah, just let it be very well known that it's four-wheelers or snowmobiles only, depending on what the, once you close that road, no
We-
full-size vehicles behind this, beyond this point.
We provided a sign that explained that last year, and again, with the snow conditions, there are a lot of people ignoring that.
So have we reached out to the landowners? What's the chance of that happening?
The fishermen have already made the landowners mad. That's not gonna happen. It will not happen.
And you're dealing with Talbots and
I've already tried that. It's not gonna happen. If they'd have to be pacified, and all that, if we don't do something this year, it's just gonna make them madder. Because I did see the stuff that they left, and yes, it was a mess. And we were gonna go out and pick the stuff up, but it's clean out in their field. And
yeah.
But if we explain to them that we're gonna patrol that or enforce it a little bit better and try to cut down on the amount of junk going through the fields, I mean, would it be worth a couple acres to them if they were gonna get that in return?
I think maybe if they were assured of it, but at this point, I'm not
How do
gonna
you
approach
build
it.
that public trust back?
And Talbots,
It's the public
we've got
that's-
along really well with Talbots. And,
Who is
Idaho.
that?
Talbots, the big farmers there on the left-hand side.
Bud Johnson's.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's the name I saw, Johnson and Swinderman. Has anybody reached out to Swinderman?
Same thing. He's not doing anything right now. They're both pretty mad.
Yeah, there was crap left. I saw everything from dirty diapers. I would try to clean up when I picked up and left there, but again, everything from a 12-pack box to dirty diapers, so you can't blame the guy that way. But the only way to do it is if you approached them, sat them down, gave them a full plan of what your idea was, and hopefully they would buy into it. And then whatever we promise that landowner, just follow through 100% with them, whether it be the sportsman's, the fishing game, or Bonneville County.
I guess that's gonna be our best option. I wonder if Fish and Game is the people to reach out to them.
I think you should involve the sportsman, and then ever, just to get them in a room and talk.
Is there a, there's organization to do that through, or you
Well,
build the,
do you have a relationship with them, Mike? Could you reach out to them with this idea? Because I know how good you are with landowners, and Mike, I mean, he probably fishes it. I don't know if you know.
I know Mike.
Kohler. He probably fishes it much or more than anybody.
It's 'cause he's good at it.
But he's a very responsible sportsman. I mean, I know him, and he's good. He works with landowners well. Maybe you would be the one to reach out to him, Mike. Do you have a relationship there?
I just know who Swinderman is, and I'm not familiar with the Johnsons or whoever runs the Johnson place at all. I know they've had to have problems in the past because all that used to be open. What was it, about 6 or 8 years ago? Everything got posted, no trespassing. So I think they've had problems. I've seen up there everything from tires, like I said, dirty diapers, carcasses, big game carcasses dumped up there on their property, so it is a problem. But I think if we had someone, I would be willing to go and talk with them. If maybe Brett would go with me and just sit down and give them our plan and see what they say. What are the benefits? Are you still there, Brett?
Yes.
What are the benefits of Access Yes? I know a friend of mine has some Access Yes property.
Yeah,
there-
access could be a tool that could be used. The funds are limited, and they're typically paid on an acre basis. And so there is some flexibility on a situation like this where the acreage isn't very large, that we could bump up the pay. But it's not a lot of money, to be honest with you. Usually it's an agreement between fishing game and a landowner who wants to cooperate and provide access. In a situation like this, I think that would be a very small carrot to dangle out in front of these guys, just because it doesn't have a lot of funding associated with it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the benefit to the landowner to be in the program was.
Yeah, it's monetary, but it's not much.
That's where I think if you put a plan together before you approach them, you know, because it sounds like we've identified several problems and have some type of an agreement together if they use the park to make sure, you know, they would give you permission, whoever is responsible for cleaning it up, to get on their property and remove it.
Yeah.
You know, get some type of agreement with them like
And
that.
maybe if it was
Then
a,
you're solving their problem right now.
yeah, and if there was a time, a sunset associated with that, that this is a 1 or 2 year agreement and we can amend it or get rid of it if it isn't working out, go somewhere else.
There's another issue, and that's, I think I heard from our Parks and Rec, we had a dock ruined last year, right? Because
Yeah,
somebody lit a barbecue grill on one of our plastic docks.
Ice
Well-
fishermen put a barbecue around the dock and melted the dock, and it's a $3,000. You just have to replace it.
But if they're gonna be in there fishing, that's gonna happen one way or the other. Because it got in there even with the road closed.
Yeah, well, we're already providing this at the Juniper end, so as far as Parks and Recreation is concerned, we're already providing a parking lot, we're providing garbage service, and we have a presence, so.
That's where, I know that's where you would prefer, is just let everybody park there and snowmobile down the lake.
Yeah.
Which isn't that much further.
It's not a lot further, there's a lot less hassle. And yeah, there's gonna be the argument, well, you have to wait for the ice to freeze, well, and that is a thing, it's a several week thing, but you know, it freezes from the top down, and once the bottom freezes, the whole thing's froze, so. You know, I just see, I mean, it's unfortunate that this has happened with the ranchers because we've had a good relationship with them, but I'm to the opinion that they're not gonna allow anything because of what's happened on their property. And yeah, I mean, totally can't even blame them.
And see, that's, as long as it's open, that's probably still gonna happen. So I think if we approach it with a solution that
Could be,
take care of the problems and try to avoid it. But what's your thoughts on coming in on the June or the Juniper end? And snowmobiling up?
Yeah, my thoughts are, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's kind of 2 different groups of anglers that are using Ririe Reservoir. And the Juniper Inn is very popular with the crowd that's targeting kokanee. And there's a pretty large group that target Ririe for kokanee salmon. The south end, the upper end of the reservoir has a different composition of fish. There's a lot more perch, a higher probability running into a walleye. So you get a different crowd that fishes that species and that group of fish. So if you force those folks to come in from Juniper, as Craig mentioned, there's a time lag there. And so they'd probably be looking for other ways, maybe even working on the side hills with their equipment to get up there. That's obviously not something that we want to see from a wildlife perspective. And then there's the safety concern that we heard about from the sheriff at our last meeting. People traveling that far on the ice, there's more potential for accidents, and then search and rescue would be hampered by that condition too. So there's concerns that I'd have from a couple different angles.
Well, I think, you know, the best approach, you know, if you get a representative of some of the users in there, along with Fish and Game, and maybe even some of us call a meeting together with a plan. You know, say this is what we can do. Are you interested? If they're not, I think we've done the best we can, and they're still going to have the problems up there. As long as you're going to allow the fishing, unless you want to close the fishing off.
I was thinking about this, the trust is the thing that would, with the landowners, that sounds like we don't have right now, that relationship. In Teton County, we have a couple access sites on the river that are on road easements. And I don't know if that's a potential here, if we could enhance an area on the easement that would provide some parking, would provide us an opportunity to add enforcement, garbage services, and maybe build back some of that trust and show that we can handle the situation. And then after that, for a couple of years, maybe go to the landowners and say, can we enhance the parking area, lease some of your property? We've been doing.
The problem with easements, is those are 50-foot prescriptive, aren't they?
It depends on what you set it up as.
Right, so what is it for that area?
Well, most of the easements are, for right-of-way easements are 50-foot prescriptive.
But you'd have to purchase other easements if you're gonna go wider. And what could you do with this plan in a 50-foot easement? Because aren't you talking about
Well, you'd
widening it up enough for a lane for parking and they could
Yeah,
still
to get out of
by?
the plow's way. Yeah. Just a thought I had.
Right at the intersection of 115th. It's a pretty good drop from the road down to the field
on the
on not only the south side, on the north side, you have the northwest corner, which is also drops down pretty good. The northeast is kind of a hill that comes down to the road. That's the only one that would be almost feasible to park on, would be right there. Right now, without filling all of this in, it would take pretty good fill to be able to do that right along the road.
How long of a stretch are you talking about that you wouldn't need to fill? How many feet?
You'd have to come back quite a ways if you're not gonna fill anything.
Right. That's a pretty good drop. You're talking 6-7 foot drop from the road down to the bottom of the
How far
field.
back? Is quite a ways.
1,000 feet, 2,000, I don't know. How far back?
Half a
This
mile.
way,
Yeah.
the whole stretch pretty much. So you're talking over a half mile where that is
So they-
lower than the road.
Park half mile and then snowmobile in on the road that you're keeping open. Go that way.
Which causes other problems.
When it starts blowing in there, it blows their vehicles in.
I think we're kind of stuck with what we've got unless,
At least this year.
at least this year, yeah, unless we can get the sportsman and Fish and Game to come up with a plan to take to the landowners.
I'd be happy to help with that. I do have some concerns from some past interactions the department has had with at least one individual. I'm not sure having a department person there in that discussion would be beneficial. It might be more harmful than good. But I'm happy to help put together a plan, and
Knowing those individuals, I'm not sure a county person. Because of past discussions we've had with them.
it might be best coming from sportsmen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we're gonna have to leave it the way it is for this year. And then reconsider it after this year and see if maybe some feelings can be healed by the sportsmen up there and they can find a solution.
They're the ones that have to take the action.
Yeah.
They're the ones doing it.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
what if we took this year? So that was my biggest concern for this year is it's gonna be the season in a couple weeks. So getting something set up would be very tough for this year. But what if we took this year and we did what we did last year? And, put it in a couple people's ears, you got a couple of, you got a couple of prominent groups of people that fish that. When I go up there, I see the same people, you know what I mean? So if we got the word to those people and just got them started passing it around, of what we're trying to do this year. This year, we're just trying to clean up our act and show the landowners that we can do a better job accessing it this year, or, just keep their areas cleaner. And then try to put something together for next year.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. And any help you can give on that, Mike, and with the other people that you know are fishing it a lot, if you guys can make the contact with, it looks like Johnson's are gonna be the ones. I mean, unless you come back, Swindon.
Because Swindleman's is on the area that you're talking about. slopes off.
Well, Swineman is on that side, but.
Yeah,
this
The
is
Johnsons
Johnson.
own right there.
They own-
They own both sides right there.
Yeah.
They own all that.
Yeah,
And it
Swindon
slopes
are more to the east.
Who is the enforcement up there? Is it Bonneville County Sheriff or is it the Fish and Game?
The enforcement right now is Bonneville County Sheriff, and they're stretched pretty thin, and that's what makes it tough.
Right,
Just
but
put-
can that be, does Fish and Game have authority out there also?
Yeah, for the littering, of course, yeah.
And
And
then
then
for the trespassing?
for that, I'm not sure.
I would
I'd have
think
to
so.
check.
I would think so.
I believe there's an agreement in place with the county to enforce those road closures, but I have to check with our conservation officer.
We'd have to check with Sam, the sheriff.
Well, even for the trespass, I mean, with the strengthening of the trespass laws, I would think that you would have authority for those cutting the corners on
There
those
should
fields,
be.
right?
This is-
Sportsmen.
I mean, this isn't exact part of Tex Creek, but Tex Creek is what, the wildlife management area is what, 2 miles away. I mean, so if you got it for Tex Creek, you got it for this.
That should,
Well, let's keep working on it. Mike, and any help you can give or any insight, let me know and we'll keep you in touch with what's happening.
So Brett, are you taking the lead on this then?
as far as putting together a plan or getting sportsmen's together, what part are you asking about, Mike?
Well, again, the enforcement, so they know who's coming or who will be out there. And then putting a plan together, and if you want me to get involved, I don't mind getting involved in this. This is something that's gonna help me and my group of buddies to get this fixed. So I don't mind donating my time to help it. I just need to have a contact and make sure we're all on the same page of what we're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike, and I will definitely work on a plan. As far as the enforcement, I can't speak for our officers, but I'll certainly go to our lead officer, Doug Peterson, and explain the issue, and hopefully they can spend some more time up there, but I'm sure they will once they understand what we're dealing with. But if you could help me identify the individuals and the groups that are using that site, and so we can outreach and get them on board and maybe explain to them the issues we're dealing with, that'd be helpful too, so.
Okay, why don't you just, when you start getting things put together, just give me a call, and you just need to let me know what you want me to do.
Okay, will do.
All right, we better move on then unless there's something else. But anybody else wants to give? Thank you, Mike.
All right, have a good day.
Keep us informed
Yeah.
what we can do. Yeah, we're supportive of it. I'm also very sensitive to our road and bridge and parks.
Yeah, it's a
What's
complicated
that-
issue, and I
that's-
appreciate you guys.
That's Talbot's there. Everything there is Talbot's. And then,
They're leasing from Johnson's.
no, Talbot
No,
runs the
Talbot's.
Johnson Farm.
Oh, okay.
So they're the grandkids.
Okay.
Okay, that's all you gotta remember is grandkids.
That's who you gotta work with.
Yeah.
Salvage.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of the stuff that happens up there isn't all from the fishers either.
Oh, it's not. People drive around on
I'm
their
sure people
farms.
just
It's
go
just.
up there and hang out.
Ride their snowmobiles.
Which makes it hard too, because then you think about opening parking up there and it's like, well, you're not only opening up to
Yeah,
fishermen,
you're saying.
you're opening it up to everyone.
Snowmobile.
Come park your
Farm around.
snowmobile trailer here, come hang out with your friends, have a bonfire, you know, you
That-
just,
That's the concern if I have, even if you enlarge a parking lot on the Talbots, is you're
Yeah.
gonna invite more
Yeah.
people up there.
I
And you're
don't
gonna
think,
increase the problem.
I don't think it'll ever happen.
Like you're closer to that high school group that goes up there.
I know. It's not
that's
that
what
far
it is.
removed from that era.
That's exactly what happens up there. And then they drive around there in their fields. I mean,
never
it's
rode
just
our horses
amazing.
up there to do that, because it was
I
a good
prefer
place
to
to
see the
play.
whole thing stay closed myself.
In my day, that used to be the bottom of camps. You know, they'd always
Yeah.
come around that little artificial campground there.
It's true. I mean, even we go up there in the summer to go boating and you come home late at night, there's people parked all over that road. It's just always been that way and I
There's
don't
cell
know that
service
it's
there.
gonna
you know.
change much, truthfully.
They go up there to make their phone calls.
After 30
Well, you have
years
to
of
get
doing
past
this, after 30 years of doing this, I have zero faith in the public. I have faith that they'll ruin it, but I have faith that they
Well,
will.
then you have faith.
Okay, well, sounds like we
Beat that horse.
can this year.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, thanks, Brett.
You bet. Thanks for your
Good to
time.
see you again.
You too. Thanks for that paperwork. Very interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
You guys have Merry Christmas.
You too. We'll see you over there for dinner. You gonna be there?
See you guys.
See ya.
That's why I'm cooking.
Well, we better let you.
Prime ribs on, and turkey's ready to go in.
And that's,
ham
what time is that?
About one.
Okay, I thought I wasn't gonna be here, but I might run over there. Unless I gotta go home. and
Thank you.
Lather up. Okay. Probably get around to the recording. Can I, before you start, we're done. Are we done with road bridge stuff?
No, we're not done with
Oh.
road bridge stuff.
That check for Cold Point in New York, or the payment for Cold Point. I didn't think about it yesterday, but the first time a payment goes out in our Munis system, it won't send it electronically. It does a pre-notification to their bank to verify that our routing number and account number are correct. So it printed a check. Do you want us to overnight that check to them?
Yeah.
I'll let them know it's there.
Yeah.
Because I know Steve wanted to get that payment to him as.
Yeah, Steve thought you were gonna be able to send electronic. Yeah.
Well, and I didn't even think about a pre-note.
Yeah.
Just the way the system's set up, it can be overridden, but there's a risk there that if, and they had one just recently with LifeMap or one of the employee benefits where they had the account number wrong and it never made it to them.
Okay, yeah, let's just. override it.
We'll overnight
I
it.
verified and I talked to Steve too, that he wanted the full amount, so that was right.
So,
Even though it went back and forth.
We thought it was the half amount.
so I called Steve and he says, no, I want half of it. When did you,
Okay,
because that's all we did.
today he said it was full, but that's fine, just do the half if that's what he told you.
Yeah, that's,
It changes his mind every day, so.
it's done and done.
Okay,
So
I won't visit anymore, just do what he told you.
That was my understanding, is it was half.
that was mine too.
Yeah.
Because Suzanne put it in as full. I called him just to make double sure, and he said, no, it's only supposed to be half.
Okay,
So we changed it to half, and now he's. Is that thing still on? Because I could make a comment, but it's on.
it's
We're
fine,
being
just
recorded.
leave it as half, we'll just do that, so.
Okay, so if they need the other one sooner,
You may
just-
leave that up. We may talk
Oh, you
about.
want
some-
it up?
Yeah. if-
he just needs to let us know. And now that we've done it once, the next ones, the subsequent ones can go electronically.
I'll let him know, but, yeah, that's good, thanks, Ron,
Okay, thanks for the update.
you're welcome.
So on DocuSign is a local professional services agreement for Keller to be the engineer of record for 97 South.
Okay.
That needs to be signed.
Okay.
The next thing is I've got a application that I need signed. This is for a signal at 50 Easter Homes and 49 South. Remember last year, we put in an application to do 2 signals. Because of cost increases and stuff like that, there is no way we could get it in for the price. So I've redone the application. I've redone it as far as just this signal. It's still close to the $1.5 million. But the cost benefit ratio has been increased. We've been able to stack some crash modification factors. and get a cost benefit ratio of 18.9 to 1. Last year, it was about 13 to 1. Last year, it didn't get picked up. Hopefully with a higher cost benefit ratio and only one signal, it will get picked up in the program. Idaho Falls plans on putting in an application on the other signal location. They don't have jurisdiction at it.
That was my next question, where are we with that MOU that we had the red line?
Well, and that's, they sent back another copy of that MOU, which
Later.
yeah, and I don't know that you're gonna appreciate what it has to say again. This one doesn't have much in the way of anything as far as a MOU, except that they still agree that they're gonna pay part of the match cost.
But we're not having to go out and get that extra width of the right of way that they wanted, that,
So there's enough money in here that if we have to go and get some extra right away, we can do it. But this project is just us.
okay. Sometimes the concern with that, is they go way beyond expecting us to do a take. That,
Yeah.
We still have to review those one by one, see how, what we believe the need is.
Right.
Before we're willing to do that.
And I totally agree with that. And I mean, this would all have to be engineered. It would have to be, get a consultant on board and do the whole process to get through it. And that design process would certainly be under our control out there.
Because it seems like those flashing stop signs are working quite well out there.
It does, although there's justification for the signal based on the accident history.
Prior to the light.
He said he wanted a laptop.
Yes.
We're leaving it up there.
I think the urgency of it has been taken care of by the four-way stop. It's still gonna have to happen sometime in the future.
Well, and this may take,
That's a really funny looking windmill.
this may take 5 years to get funding to actually construct it. That's why it's important to put it in now and get it in that system.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that red line MOU before we get together with the cities we're gonna be talking about. Next meeting with
I
city
can
council.
send that to you. I don't know that it was a red line version of it.
Well,
It's the same one that we had last year.
they didn't incorporate any of your comments.
I haven't looked at it. I really haven't. He sent me a copy of it for support with the 15 east and 49 south one. It's like, I'm not focused on that right now. I'm focused on this one and trying to get this into the system.
If you can take a quick look at the MOU that they proposed and see what kind of issues, because we're trying to establish some type of a relationship. So they need to understand kind of what our expectations are. They keep throwing this stuff at us that kind of puts us in an adversarial position. If they understand what things are not going to do that ahead of time, maybe we can start avoiding some of that.
We can try.
You look like there's a lot of history there,
There is a lot of history there.
but we'd like to change that if we can.
Yeah.
Are we okay going ahead? with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I think so.
What do we have on this documents that they're going to share or talk?
I will show you. Here's where the signature needs to go. And in the project description, right here.
Okay. But do we have that in group, or we're the only signature? Is the city going to come back and say we didn't agree to that?
I've got an email from Chris that says that they're comfortable with doing that.
Comfortable or authorized?
Comfortable.
Needs to be, I think we still sign it, but I think you need to get them a little more committed.
Okay.
That's where the MOU idea came out.
Yeah.
whether it's an agreement that they sign that they will, not that they're comfortable.
Okay,
And
I
that's-
will-
That's based on past experience on this side.
I understand. Absolutely.
So now I need to get a lot smaller pen to sign in that line.
Or you can just sign below it too.
I know Sadaki sign just needs, the chairman just needs one signature.
Correct, yeah.
Tell them we've got a sign pending.
Commitment, okay.
On a willingness to.
Okay.
Because in 5 years, it's likely that I won't be here. Have documents
To back it up.
yeah.
If you get a call from a Kim Phillips, he has 4 cattle that is behind the road closed signs up in Bone area. It's
Leave
actually,
them up there for,
it's
it's winter.
completely, well, it's miles beyond
Yeah,
into Bingham County, but he called us today for permission to use a tractor to open the road past the road close sign. I did not give him that permission. And even if I did give him permission, I could only give him permission to our county line. And he's got 4 cattle clear back in Horse Creek. It's probably 8-9 miles from our county boundary. Well, if you get a
is
call.
this a helicopter rescue thing?
Ooh. Yeah, he wanted to drive a pickup in with a stock trailer because that's what he has.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's
like he
too snow
This
too
is a
deep
long-
up there to drive them
long
out.
way past November 15th.
Yeah, why didn't he get them out?
Think so.
Well, and is the snow so deep, you can't drive them out now? I mean, 9 miles
Well,
is
I
9 miles,
asked him,
but,
Yeah, I asked him that and he said, well, they're wild. And he finally maybe got them into a corral, but he couldn't drive them. It's like, well, that's not my
hmm,
problem. So,
Did Reed get his cows out?
as far as I know, he did, they didn't call this year, so I don't have heard.
This is the perfect year for him to get every blade of grass that he can. Of course, I think he's got rid of most of his cows, hasn't he?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I know that when Jay passed away, they've kind of divided some of that
That-
property up.
First big snowstorm that we got in like October, they got a lot of snow up there. When we were up there hunting that day, there was a lot of people up getting their cows out that day.
a little
It's a
nervous.
Good warning.
It was
Yeah.
pretty nasty. I would be willing to say there's probably more snow up there then than there is now.
Yeah.
But
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Did you want to talk about this one?
yeah,
So, and part of. So there's been an application for a building permit
Where?
you can pass it
on
down
this
there.
lot.
Okay.
That lot I've seen them.
So it's the city of, it's adjacent to a city of Idaho Falls.
Seems like we've
subdivision.
talked about that. That's,
So the question came from planning and zoning is, what's gonna be required to put them on? Well, I got a site plan afterwards showing an access on the helix.
Which they'd
So
have to
it's
get
not-
approval for from the city.
yeah.
So that was why the question, if the city told them no, could they access the arterial?
And accessing the arterial, again, in keeping with our current planning standards and stuff like that, we should be getting 50 foot of right of way along 17th. And we should have an access agreement that would put in place some sort of participation in the cost of widening out that road when it's needed.
I mean, I can see that in this situation of 17, that's not like
It's
that's
not.
out in the,
It's not a platted lot though.
It doesn't matter to me. It's still planning for the
So-
future. If they develop a lot, there should be an agreement in place
So
saying that
those
they would
two lots
benefit.
are the leftover two of less than 10-acre division rights from that farm, because when the city came in, they didn't annex the whole farm.
Right.
It was a city thing that they chose to leave the two gaps there, and those two pieces got left in the county. Which then, since there's two of less than 10-acre division rights left on the farm, they go to those two pieces that are up at the top of the farm, because they're both more than an acre.
Where are these at? How far down?
So this is Helix Boulevard right
Okay.
here. So it's just past that island.
But how
Is
far
where-
is Helix? I don't know where Helix is.
Helix is this road right
Okay,
here.
but where is that on 17th Street?
So I think the
How far out are we?
26th west is
Yeah.
over here.
That
Just a
piece
little
that the
bit.
city had down on the
So
corner
we're
with the
looking at a
utility
couple weeks
box, it's
ago.
probably about halfway in
So
between
it's-
those
Yeah,
intersections.
so 26th is over here, 35th is probably at least a 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah. I'd say it's about a half mile up.
Oh, okay, I know where you're at. now.
Yeah, the tough
That's
thing
right.
with there is
You're at 17th south, we gotta go north to 17th north.
So the building permit application we have on this is the people who do homes for
Go that
troops. So it's people who are injured in the service.
Right
There's
there.
a company that when they become disabled, they can apply. It's a grant. They'll build a
It's
home
right there,
for 'em.
right?
These
Right
are the
there,
people who are
yeah.
wanting to build there. They've talked to the city about annexing. The city says, well, if you're gonna annex, we would make you extend the services, which is gonna be $200,000 or $300,000 for one
Don't
house.
they have services in Helix Boulevard?
Yeah, but they're gonna make them pull them down 17th in front of
How
their
can they
house,
make them
Why?
pull it down
When they're
17th?
closest, if they're gonna hook onto Helix.
is what they say. So
is that coming from the city or? from
that's what the city says. We have a letter from the city saying they'd be required to extend the services.
them? But they basically
Extend
haven't said
services
no.
in Helix.
The city
No,
hasn't
they
said
said
no yet.
No,
Isn't that 17th frontage owned by,
they, in their
The
letter, they said
developer?
if it remains unincorporated, the city won't service it with their water and sewer, which is standard.
So what
So
will they
the
do?
city of Idaho Falls owns that frontage out to 17th north. They own that middle part
There.
right there.
And they annex this, right?
I don't, have
They
they
haven't
annexed that?
yet,
Yeah,
they're
going
they're
to.
planning on it, yeah.
so the landowner wants to go through where the trees are, that berm and all that?
Well, they ultimately want to access off of Helix.
They wanna go
My
right.
concern was if they don't annex into the city, is the city gonna let them annex off of Helix or access off of Helix because Helix
It's
is
a public road.
annexed in this,
Yeah, I
into
don't
the
know how they
city.
can stop. them.
So they can go get a permit there and access off of there, and they're fine with doing that. The city said they can get a permit. So I think more of the question came for me was not just in this case, but in all cases in the future with the new agreement that we've signed for development. When people have come in and split off an acre of their farm and accessed an arterial county road, we require them as part of the deed to less than accept the road right of way. We've always done that so that the road right of way is given, but we've never required arterial improvements unless they plat. So my concern is I don't know how we require arterial improvements without a subdivision plat.
So this did come up in legal yesterday. I told you you didn't need to come over, but it did come up. And both Weston and Scott said, that's what I was telling you this morning, said, we've got to go back and print out all the statutes and read through this.
See where the definition of development
Yeah,
was
see
first
where-
used and what its intent was.
Because our intent has, and the way we've always done it, is we've said development is when they file a subdivision plat. Whether that's one lot in a subdivision plat or 200 lots, we count that as development, and at that time, that's triggered the right-of-way dedication and arterial improvements. But on division rights, when they come in and
But
get
it's
an
still
access
development.
permit,
As far as I'm concerned, it's still taking that lot out of bare ground.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, but we've never, for the past 40 years, we've never required
I was gonna say
arterial
that'd have to be
improvements
a
for
change
division
of
rights.
practice or policy, because I agree with Austin. We've never done that.
But that's what the new language in the plan or the road and bridge standards talks about all developments adjacent to arterial
And
road.
that,
So it's the definition of development.
Right, which goes back
That
to what
is
Scott
gonna-
and Weston both said, we need to figure out what the original.
if that is the
intent of
case,
use.
that's gonna create a huge uproar
Sure it is.
with all these
Because-
people who have division rights and wanna put one house.
Especially out in the more
Yeah.
rural areas.
Farm areas, I got 100 acres, I wanna
And
build
for
my
that one up in
farmhouse.
Swan Valley that bought all that ground and is wanting to use
So
all
one of the
15
things
of
that
his
comes into
division
play
rights
here is, again,
along that road,
This
gets
is
him out of
adjacent
doing
to the
this when he
city.
shouldn't,
That's
right?
my
Because
concern
he's
is.
putting,
this is adjacent to the
he's
city,
really
and if it's
putting in a
adjacent to the
subdivision, he's
city
just
with
losing division rights
this
from
urban
commerce.
type of growth, we need to be prepared for that. We need to be planning for the future when this road does need to be widened out. And even if it's an agreement in place that they're on the hook for a portion of the development of the road widening costs in the future, at least it's on the hook for something in the future that needs to happen.
Well,
We're planning.
my question is, why isn't the city trying to work with them instead of creating a couple more islands?
Well,
Yeah, their infill preaching is really coming to show what they're actually gonna do with it is. But anyways, we've had ones like this in the past. If the city basically says if it's unincorporated and they've gone and talked to them, if it's unincorporated, we won't service it. We've still issued a building permit on well and septic off of the city saying that. But
Well, it's really not an issue if they.
I
if they
don't know
make
how
their
you
access
can
it off.
tell them no when the city's
the side
basically
street,
said,
then
yeah,
not
it's
an
as
issue.
okay
long
if
as
you
we can get the
develop in
right of way
county.
dedicated, and we'll be good to go. Okay?
So, and they'll dedicate the right of way.
See,
He's
that's-
fine with that.
You know, that's maybe the middle ground. We probably need to put in definition of development. Because I think the first key part, other than paying for the development later, would be to make sure there's enough right of way so that you have the setbacks. So when they build it, you don't have to come in and do a taking.
Weston thought there was some definition in the rest of the ordinance, but we didn't have it, so he was gonna go back and get it.
And I
all.
think
So-
truthfully, the subdivision and development ordinance and the state standards, I think is 3 lots. Because Steve said that's why we did the ordinance is 3 lots as a subdivision, because that's what the state was at the time. So maybe
Why do
that's
we have a
changed,
single
but
lot, one lot subdivision?
because sometimes they have to in order to build the road or to do certain things. But the true definition of what constitute a subdivision is 3 or more lots that are less than 10 acres.
I don't know, to me, it's pretty clear cut that you're taking bare ground and putting a home on it, that's developing that land. But
I think it's pretty clear cut that it's inconsistent with the infilling that they've been doing, because they'll go out there. and
Definitely ought to
water.
come in on the side street, not on the arterial.
I mean, and I see what you're saying, Lance. I think my concern with it, so take Bryan's farm, for
Yeah.
example, if he decides he wants to build one house on his farm and have an access out to the arterial road, are we gonna make him improve all of that frontage all the way along his farm?
I'm not saying
Just the
that you
100-foot
improve it,
frontage for the
that's
new
not what
house.
I'm saying.
Just pick up the right of way.
We're picking up the right of way and have an agreement that there's a cost participation sometime in the future. If that road is widened, that may be 20 year or 30 year or 40 years down the road, and things may look completely different at that time. But at least we have an agreement that if this road needs to be widened down in 5 years, we have some participation costs.
That's
Doesn't
harder.
sign it an open-ended
That's
agreement
harder
like
to
that?
enforce on a 1 or 2 or 3 lot.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely.
Than a subdivision. You know, that's why there should be a line drawn.
And I have to disagree with you. I don't think that me putting one house on my farm for a son to live in or whatever is a development. That's not developing that property.
Not the whole property. but it's developing the 1 acre.
But he may not even split it off, is what I'm saying. He
Well,
may
if
just
they
say,
don't
I'm just
split it
gonna
off,
build a
then-
house in the
Then
middle
it's
of
not
the
a
farm.
concern, right?
But if you're gonna enforce it on 1 acre, that, okay, well, you're participating, then if you build the house on 300 acres, they have to be able to have some participation too. I don't know how you do
Getting
that.
the right
It's
of
the,
way is.
I think
the
getting
more-
right away is
Yeah,
more
I
important
agree.
reasonable.
in advance.
And that might be the middle ground here.
What-
Let's get the right of way now, because trying to tie up a 1 acre piece of property for 50 years.
That is hard. I understand it, but again, I'm going off of what Weston went through and did this. No development access to an existing arterial street shall be granted
Right. And
unless we have the 50-foot right of way and unless we have a access agreement has been granted by the county and right. That access agreement could be different things.
maybe that's the place to approach it. To me, the whole purpose for this was because somebody puts in a subdivision that's going to dump 300 homes traffic onto an arterial that it's not built for, so we need to make the improvements to the arterial where they're dumping that
Yeah.
housing addition on. One house is adding one
So here we're
What?
caught in.
0.3%.
We're caught in the middle.
We're caught in the middle
But
of
The whole
P&Z
subdivision.
P&Z
So-
ordinance also talks about minimizing access points on our arterial
Right.
streets.
But we're caught in the middle of a situation where these guys have a property right.
Yeah.
That division right, and they qualify for it.
Right.
But the city,
So the other side of this, not here, but the developer up in Swan Valley that bought the whole farm and wants to use the division rights to put 10 homes next to each other along that one street. He's doing a subdivision, but he's completely circumventing the process by using division rights to
is it in Swan Valley or in the county?
it's in the county, but I know what
It's- but yeah,
situation
yeah,
you're
it's-
talking about, and
and
there
so
again,
he's kind of using,
with how the ordinance is written and the rights that people have, I mean,
Yeah.
he can do
Same
that.
thing.
because
No,
it's
the
right,
73rd
because he
south.
He
has the
can
right
come
to
in
do
and
it.
put
Yeah.
10 acre parcels along there if he's got it, or
They
whatever.
can be
whatever
100
he
feet
has.
wide and 1,000 feet deep.
We've done
We
that
just
for,
did it for
2000.
73rd South, Lane Archibald.
Yeah.
we've done that
He
for
did not file a
years, so.
subdivision
Yeah.
plat, but he's got,
And the
10
solution would be to get Swan Valley and Irwin to bring the
Yeah.
borders together and annex all of it.
Well, let's see what Weston and Scott come up with on that and see what the definitions are. And I guess if we need to make some changes to clarify that
I guess I agree.
And
that one
those
lot isn't, but
points
10
that
right
we're
next
just
to each
getting right
other
away, I think
is.
that's fine. I think that the arterial improvement things on division rights would be it's just gonna be a problem because everyone is gonna come in and complain.
And if that can be dealt with in
The
the,
cost of it for one house, it's just
Well,
not
It bothers
reasonable.
me because, they're putting an undue burden that they didn't put on anything they've developed in there to
Yeah.
bring that sewer all the way down to 17th. Because there's gonna be a new subdivision supposedly right
north.
across from that other.
yeah.
so if he just waits
How are
until
they
they
gonna
do that
serve
other
that?
subdivision, then it's
Well,
gonna
and that
run
would
across
be
in
where
front of
this
him.
line would come and probably extend it from there, but
So
but
they
it-
put the burden on those two properties.
That's
to extend
ridiculous.
that
It's
line.
another thing of the city, instead of just saying, you know what, these are two spots we really need to fill in. We'd love to have you annex them. Let us help you here with the services. We'll get it taken care of. They make it so hard that it's not cost affordable for anyone to build one house there. So it's basically never going to develop in the city because of the cost.
And I'm wondering if this would be one of those 2 or 3 examples we want to show when we're talking about coming up with a uniform
Yeah, this would be. a
set of
good one.
policies and saying, look, here's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, here's,
They've got the property right. What are
this
we?
is
what are we
complicated.
supposed to
What's
do?
your plan? Yeah,
Because they're gonna create 2 more islands. And once they get surrounded, they're gonna have to go in and force annex them.
and then they're gonna have to, they'll have wasted all the money for their septic and sewer when they're gonna be hooking on to city utilities and their well and
And basically, the agreement as it's written now says anything that's adjacent to the city or within the city of area of impact, they have to talk to the city
Right.
about
Right.
the annexation possibility. But if the city comes back and says, this is what we're gonna require, you know, we can, and they go talk to them and they say, if you stay in the county, we just won't service it. We've issued permits because they've talked to them, but there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, the right thing is to do the right thing and.
I wonder
sweet
how
talk
to
'em into
approach
doing the
that,
right
because
thing.
they're gonna say, well, this is a pending annexation, so we can't talk about it. Because of that goes to their city council.
Well, I think
And
they're
if we-
going to apply for the permit through us, from what I've talked to the guy about. Because the city basically gave a letter that said, yeah, we would require this, and if you develop in the county, we won't require you hook onto services, and
But they've got service.
then they gave them, they told them they'd let them hook onto Helix, but I guess they can't hook onto the services in Helix, and
I don't
Are the
understand
services in
that.
Helix?
they would
They've
have
got
to
to,
be to
they've
go
got
down
houses
the
right there.
but I don't know what the connection fee is they're charging them either.
Which one is it? Is it Lyle or is it the other one?
It's that one on the
It's,
one you just clicked on.
It's this one.
Yeah,
it's that one right there.
So they
That's where
probably,
this site plan is.
they probably ran the services to where the city annexed. I doubt if they'd run, maybe they ran them all the way down Helix.
No, they probably didn't run them all the way down.
yeah, they
but
probably haven't
you're-
extended them up yet.
Well,
So just
they don't-
because, I mean,
wouldn't they run
you've
them under
got
the road before
services
they
within
paid that?
50 feet of it.
Down to the south there,
Yeah,
so they could hook on there.
and even if you put on, I mean, the water line isn't a problem. Yeah, you have to dig up the road, you have to repair the road. The sewer line, you have a sump pump in the basement. And force main it down. I mean, there's plenty of ways to do that without extending the sewer.
This is one of those frustrations because we can't sit down and I'm guessing we won't be able to discuss it because of the annexation issues.
Maybe we will.
You know, we can bring it up and let the mayor tell us we can't because that's a staff issue. Well, these are the type of issues that
That need-
are being dealt with at the
Right.
staff level that are causing us problems.
It makes a whole lot more sense to me to have the access onto Helix and get the right of way and just be done with it.
Yeah, and that's really what they want to do. So I think in this case, if they access on Helix, get it in writing from Idaho Falls Public Works. And he said he'd do the right of way. It's what we can do in this scenario, but I just wanted to bring it up for forward with what's in there. What are we gonna do?
You
So
put in writing, Idaho Falls Public Works.
that they'll let them access onto Helix, even though it's an annexed city road.
If we'd want that in writing that they're denying it, because that would be the most logical place to put it.
Yeah,
Whatever we get from them, we're gonna have to make sure it's in writing.
well, we already have the letter about the water and sewer, so that's covered. It's just, I told him he needed to get a letter on the
Remember, when
access.
I said we need to get that commitment in writing to pay for that.
Yeah, I remember.
It's unfortunate.
Is there anything else you need this map for?
You
No, I
want
don't
to show us
think-
where you're gonna build the house for your son?
No, they've already, they're already got houses there. Just an example.
I think, you know, if you can give me copies of those letters, because I think we may try to use this as an example, and if they shut us down, we'll shut it down.
Yeah, I'll give them to you. And it came from I think it was from the city. I have to remember who wrote it. I can't remember. I don't have it.
You need anything else on the record, Lance?
I don't think so. I have some information for you to look further about prices for